Hey Bears fans, we're back with an exclusive video and the latest updates on our beloved Chicago Bears. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. That way, you'll always stay up to date with breaking news and exclusive content. The moment this rumor started circulating behind the scenes, it immediately sent a shockwave through the NFC North, because when a player like BYRON Murphy Jr. is even whispered about changing sides inside the same division, everything feels heavier, louder, and more dramatic. Sources close to league conversations suggest that this move from Minnesota to Chicago was not something that happened overnight, but rather a slow-burning situation fueled by quiet dissatisfaction, strategic shifts, and a growing sense that Murphy was ready for a different challenge. The Bears, a franchise desperate to reshape its defensive identity, reportedly saw Murphy not just as another defensive back, but as a symbolic piece, someone who represents a change in mentality. In Minnesota, Murphy had respect, responsibility, and trust, yet there were signs that his role might never fully expand the way he envisioned. Chicago, on the other hand, allegedly sold him a vision where his versatility, instincts, and leadership would be at the center of a defensive rebuild that wants to punch back at the division instead of surviving it. What makes this rumor especially fascinating is the emotional layer beneath the surface, because divisional moves are never just business. According to people familiar with the situation, Murphy understood exactly what it meant to cross this line. Facing former teammates, former coaches, and familiar stadiums brings an edge that fans love and players feel deeply. Chicago reportedly emphasized that edge, presenting this move as an opportunity to redefine his narrative. Instead of being a solid contributor on a crowded defense, Murphy could become a defining presence, a voice in the locker room, and a chess piece capable of shifting momentum within games. The Bears' defensive staff is said to believe that Murphy's football intelligence allows him to disguise coverages, communicate adjustments, and elevate younger players around him. That belief alone, if true, explains why Chicago pushed so hard to make this deal happen quietly but decisively. From the Minnesota perspective, the situation feels far more complicated than a simple loss of talent. Insiders hint that the Vikings' new interest was building but underestimated how aggressive Chicago would be. Murphy was valued, but Minnesota may have believed they could manage without him, leaning on internal development and scheme flexibility. What they might not have fully calculated was the psychological impact of seeing him suit up in Bears colors, lining up across from receivers the Vikings will face multiple times. Rumors suggest there was internal debate, with some voices arguing that letting Murphy go within the division was a strategic risk that could haunt them. Others believed the system mattered more than any single player. That internal split may explain why negotiations never reached the point of locking Murphy down long-term. For Chicago, this alleged move signals something much bigger than one roster upgrade. The Bears have spent years searching for a defensive identity that strikes fear instead of absorbing pressure. Murphy reportedly fits what they want to become: adaptable, aggressive, and smart. Coaches are said to envision him moving seamlessly between outside coverage, slot responsibilities, and situational matchups designed to confuse opposing quarterbacks. That flexibility allows the Bears to disguise intentions pre-snap, something they have lacked for far too long. Fans reading between the lines see this rumor as a declaration that Chicago no longer wants to rebuild quietly. They want to compete loudly, especially against familiar rivals who have dominated the division narrative. The locker room impact is another layer that cannot be ignored. Sources speculate that Murphy's reputation as a professional, someone who studies film obsessively and prepares like a veteran leader, was a major selling point. Chicago has young talent that needs direction, and bringing in someone who has already navigated pressure-packed environments could accelerate that growth. For Murphy himself, the idea of being a mentor while still playing prime-level football reportedly appealed to him. He would not just be following instructions, but helping shape the culture, something he may have felt limited in doing previously. That sense of ownership often matters more to players than raw numbers or headlines. As this rumor continues to circulate, the broader implication becomes clear. the NFC North balance could be shifting. Moves like this are rarely isolated. They send messages to other players, agents, and front offices that Chicago is serious about altering the competitive equation. Minnesota, meanwhile, must now respond, either by trusting their depth or by seeking answers elsewhere. If this speculation holds true, BYRON Murphy Jr.'s switch is not just about jerseys changing color. It is about belief, ambition, and the quiet confidence that one move can ripple across an entire division. The deeper analysts dig into this rumored move, the more it feels like a calculated gamble rather than a reactionary decision. BYRON Murphy Jr. stepping into Chicago's defensive system reportedly opens doors for schematic creativity that the Bears have struggled to unlock. Coaches are said to view him as a connector, someone who links the front seven with the secondary through communication and anticipation. That kind of player does not always show up on highlight reels, but within game flow, his influence can be massive. Chicago's defense has often been described as talented yet disconnected, and insiders suggest Murphy's arrival is meant to fix that exact problem. His ability to read route concepts, pass off assignments, and adjust on the fly reportedly stood out during internal evaluations long before this rumor went public. What makes this story feel even more dramatic is the timing within Murphy's career. Arc sources close to him suggest he wanted a situation where his prime years would not be spent in transition. Chicago allegedly pitched stability mixed with ambition, a message that resonated strongly. Instead of constantly adjusting to shifting priorities, Murphy could grow alongside a core that believes it is close to turning the corner. That belief, whether justified or not, often drives performance. Players feed off organizational confidence, and this rumored move suggests the Bears are projecting exactly that. Minnesota, conversely, may be entering a phase where flexibility is prioritized over continuity, a strategy that sometimes works but always carries risk. Fans on both sides are already imagining the personal matchups this move could create. Murphy lining up against familiar opponents, anticipating tendencies he has studied for years, adds a layer of intrigue that goes beyond basic football analysis. Those close to the situation hint that Murphy thrives on that mental warfare aspect of the game. Facing former teammates is not about revenge, but about proving growth. Chicago reportedly emphasized this challenge, framing it as an opportunity for Murphy to demonstrate how far he has come as a professional. That psychological motivation, while intangible, often separates good seasons from memorable ones. There is also speculation about how this affects Chicago's draft and future roster planning. By securing a proven defensive back, the Bears may feel less pressure to force selections at certain positions, allowing them to let the board come to them. That flexibility can be invaluable, especially for a team trying to maximize long-term value. Insiders believe this rumored acquisition gives Chicago options, not just on Sundays, but across multiple seasons. Murphy's presence could allow younger players to develop at a healthier pace, reducing the risk of throwing them into roles before they are ready. That kind of patience often pays dividends down the line. Minnesota's response to this situation remains one of the biggest unanswered questions. Rumors suggest internal confidence that their system can absorb the loss, but confidence does not always translate into results. Losing a player like Murphy means losing familiarity, chemistry, and a reliable communicator. Even if replacements exist, the adjustment period can be costly. Some within the organization reportedly believe this move could serve as motivation, a reminder that complacency has no place in a competitive division. Others worry it exposes cracks that opponents will eagerly exploit. How Minnesota adapts may ultimately define whether this decision is remembered as bold or regrettable. In the end, this rumored move feels like a turning point, not because of headlines, but because of what it represents. BYRON Murphy Jr. choosing Chicago over Minnesota within the NFC North signals belief in a vision that has yet to fully materialize. For the Bears, it is a statement that they're done waiting quietly for relevance. For the Vikings, it is a challenge to reaffirm their identity without a trusted piece. And for the division as a whole, It is another reminder that power shifts rarely announce themselves loudly. Sometimes they begin as rumors, whispered moves that slowly, undeniably change everything. As the speculation continues to grow, another layer of this rumored move begins to surface, one that goes beyond schemes and locker rooms and dives straight into the identity battle inside the NFC North. BYRON Murphy Jr. allegedly understood that joining Chicago would not simply mean wearing a different uniform, but embracing a franchise that is trying to rewrite how it is perceived around the league. People close to the situation suggest that Murphy was intrigued by the idea of being part of a cultural reset rather than a finished product. Chicago's message, according to these whispers, was clear. They're not asking him to complete a puzzle, but to help design it. That kind of responsibility can be intimidating. It can also be empowering for a player who believes his understanding of the game has reached a mature stage. Murphy reportedly saw this as a chance to leave fingerprints everywhere, from weekly preparation to in-game adjustments, and even how defensive success is measured internally. Another intriguing rumor revolves around how opposing offenses might be forced to adapt. Defensive backs like Murphy do not just react. They influence how quarterbacks think before the snap. Analysts inside league circles speculate that Chicago intends to use Murphy as a bait piece, disguising coverages in ways that create hesitation. That hesitation, even if it lasts only a fraction of a second, can be the difference between a clean throw and a disrupted play. The Bears have allegedly lacked that kind of mental pressure in recent seasons. Adding Murphy could allow them to blur the line between man and zone concepts, forcing opponents to simplify game plans. Simplified game plans favor defenses that communicate well, and Murphy's reputation as a vocal, detail-oriented player fits that vision perfectly. There's also quiet talk about leadership dynamics that could shift because of this move. Murphy is not described as a loud, emotional leader, but rather as someone whose habits command respect. Teammates reportedly notice how he prepares, how he asks questions in meetings, and how he holds himself accountable after mistakes. Chicago's defensive room, still forming its hierarchy, could benefit from that kind of example. Sources suggest that coaches believe leadership does not always need a title or a speech. Sometimes it just needs consistency. Murphy's presence could subtly raise expectations, making it uncomfortable to cut corners. Over time, that discomfort can become a standard, and standards are what transform potential into production. From a fan perspective, this rumor fuels imagination and debate in equal measure. Supporters in Chicago are already picturing a defense that feels smarter, more unpredictable, and more confident. Meanwhile, fans in Minnesota are wrestling with frustration mixed with cautious optimism, hoping their organization has seen something others have not. Rivalries thrive on these emotional swings, and a move like this amplifies them. Murphy becoming a familiar enemy rather than a familiar ally adds narrative weight to every future meeting. Even casual observers sense that something meaningful could be unfolding, something that reshapes how these teams view each other. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Financial whispers also add intrigue, not in terms of exact figures, but in philosophy. Insiders hint that Chicago structured its pitch around value and respect rather than short-term gain. Murphy reportedly felt that his skill set was being fully understood, not just tolerated within a system. Feeling valued can change how a player invests emotionally. An emotional investment often translates into on-field urgency. Minnesota, on the other hand, may have been operating from a broader budgetary vision, trusting that depth and development could offset individual departures. That strategic difference highlights contrasting approaches to roster building that will inevitably be judged over time. Ultimately, this third wave of speculation reinforces the idea that BYRON Murphy Jr.'s rumored move is about more than football mechanics. It is about belief, perception, and momentum. Chicago appears to be betting that one thoughtful acquisition can influence mindset across an entire unit. Minnesota seems willing to test its structure without him. Whether this gamble pays off remains unseen, but one thing feels certain in these whispers. The NFC North is no longer standing still. And when divisions stop standing still, they start changing in ways that are impossible to ignore. Ultimately, the speculation surrounding DJ Moore and the Chicago Bears serves as a reminder of the complex, intertwined realities of professional sports, where talent, personality, strategy, and perception converge to shape outcomes in unpredictable ways. Moore's statement has sparked a narrative that stretches far beyond a simple expression of opinion, influencing fan engagement, media coverage, and internal organizational strategy. Rumors continue to swirl about potential acquisitions, shifts in team hierarchy, and strategic recalibrations, each feeding into the larger story of how the Bears navigate the challenges of maintaining competitiveness while managing star talent. Analysts, fans, and commentators alike remain on high alert, parsing every word and movement for clues about the team's next steps. In this environment, Moore's words are more than a statement. They are a signal, a spark for speculation, and a focal point around which the drama of the offseason revolves, ensuring that the narrative of the Chicago Bears, DJ Moore, and potential roster upheavals will dominate conversations for weeks, if not months, to come. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.